Danny Segura for MMA Junkie. I'm here in South Florida for Knuckle Mania 2, which will be going down this Saturday. And I'm standing next to BKFC President David Feldman. David, we got a pretty big event going on, but I got to ask you, there was a bit of a change-up at the weigh-ins. We saw Baum Palomino come in after Mike Perry versus Julian Lane. Has there been a switch on the card?
Yeah, we talked internally, and actually all the camps for the main event and co-main event talked, and we thought it was right for Luis Palomino to be the main event. So, he understood that we put Mike Perry on top to get a lot of eyeballs on this thing, and it worked. And Luis Palomino rightfully should be the main event. He's the championship fight. He's pretty much the face of the sport right now. So he's going to be the main event, and Mike Perry's going to be the co-main event, and it was Mike Perry's decision.
Yeah. Nice. So it seemed that it was very, very sportsmanlike for Mike Perry to kind of step down, right? Were you surprised at that?
I mean, his demeanor through this whole process is very surprising to me. Like, classy, nice, respectful. Anything that you would want a fighter to do is what he's doing. Not what you would think of Mike Perry. He's just very easy to work with.
And talk about this card, Knuckle Mania 2. I mean, it's stacked from top to bottom. Great fights. You got Chad Mendes making his BKFC debut. 2 title fights at 125 pound in the women's division. Obviously, 155, as you mentioned, with Luis Palomino. And then you got Julian Lane and Mike Perry, and then many other fights as well. Do you think this is the best card Bare Knuckle FC has put together in the history of the company?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the top premier card that we've ever put together so far. I think we've got a lot more things to do this year, so I think you're going to see better cards than this year. But this is so far probably from top to bottom the most stacked and most recognizable card that we've ever put together.
Yeah. And talk about the Mike Perry acquisition. I mean, you guys have been very aggressive about getting these big name guys that come from mixed martial arts. As soon as Mike Perry became a free agent and was out of the UFC, was that a guy that you immediately put your eyes on and be like, we got to get him?
Well, the funny thing is he never really became a free agent. We just found out that his contract had expired, and they didn't announce free agency. So, we got the inside tip, and we went to the management and made it work out. And then he was offered a fight with Triller, and we let them do that. It was fine. We didn't have anything scheduled for him yet. Obviously, a little nervous with Mike Perry going in against a seasoned professional boxer, and he did great. So, I expect really good things from him. He's what I would call an atypical bare knuckle fighter, man. He doesn't have a reverse gear. He gets hits. If he gets dropped, he gets up, he fights. He's everything I think that we want in a bare knuckle fighter, but we're going to find out tomorrow night.
Yeah, certainly, and he's fighting Julian Lane, a veteran of the company here. What was the decision making of putting that fight together? Was it after the brawl that it was like, okay, now we got to do it, or was it in the works before? How did that fight come together?
We talked about it prior to that brawl, but that brawl kind of escalated everything, and then we were like, we reward a guy that's, starting fights in the crowd, but at the end of the day, it was Mike Perry that went over to him, and Mike admitted it. So when I found that out, I said, look, man, it's a natural sell now, so let's put it together. It's a guy with 7 bare knuckle fights fighting a guy like Mike Perry. So the one thing I say about these big names coming over, they don't get easy rides, man. They all have to earn their way here, and hopefully that Mike Perry can do that too.
And talk about the women's flyweight bout for the inaugural title. There have been rumors, maybe a little bit of headlines here and there, that there was potentially going to be a tournament that was going to decide who was going to be the champion. But you guys decided to go another route. Talk to me a little bit about the making of that title fight.
Yeah, I wanted to do a tournament, but since Christine Fierro looked really good on her last fight, and Britton Hart had won a couple of fights, and most recently beaten Pearl Gonzalez, I just thought it was a natural fit. So instead of doing a tournament, let's just make the championship fight happen now, which is going to happen tomorrow night, and then we have some good challengers to come up on one of these 2 ladies. But you have a Christine Faria, who is one of the most feared girls in bare knuckle fighting, and then you got a different Britton Hart now. You got one that's walking with a different attitude, with confidence, and I think you're going to see a different fight. I think it's going to be very competitive, and I think it's going to be a great fight.
Yeah, excited for that one, definitely. And let's shift gears real quick to Luis Baum Palomino. Yesterday at the media day, he told me that he's fighting out his contract, that this is the last fight on his deal. Can you talk about sort of what he means for the company? I mean, you said he was kind of like the face of the sport, and where he stands wise as far as his contract.
Yeah, Luis and his team are great to work with. I mean, we're gonna work out a contract. We just want to see what's next for him. We might do something in Peru. Where he's from, and something big, and we're just going to see who the next opponent is. So I didn't want to hold him down, and like tie him down to a certain contract when there might be a big fight. Maybe there is a Chad Mendes fight for him. Maybe there's a big fight in his home country, Peru, and that would change the dynamics of things. So I know we're going to work something out. I'm not considered like I'm not running out his contract so he goes somewhere else. I'm running out his contract actually for his benefit.
And what do you expect from Chad Mendes? He hasn't fought in a while. He's primarily in MMA known as a wrestler, although, he's had a lot of great fights as far as striking and great knockouts as well. What do you expect from him coming out of retirement and going into bare knuckle?
I mean, it brought a lot of notoriety to us. It was great that way. But again, bare knuckle's different. So we'll see if he eats that first bare knuckle punch and he's good with it. He's going to do very well. We're going to know very, very fast with Chad Mendes. I expect him to do very well if he does half as good as he looks in training on the pads and on the heavy bag, he's going to look sensational. But he's fighting a guy that's been in here twice already, so he knows what it's like to get hit with a bare knuckle. Again, bare knuckle fighting championship is just a different animal, right? But all great fights tomorrow night. 11 great fights from top to bottom, all available on the Bare Knuckle TV app, and it's going to be an amazing night of bare knuckle fighting and an amazing night for the company.
Now, I want to ask you a couple things outside of the card. What's the latest on Paige VanZant? I think the last time we saw her was against Rachel Ostovich. She was kind of on the fence about maybe making a return or not. Have you talked to her? What's the latest on her?
Yeah, she'll definitely be back in late spring, early summer. 100% Paige will be back. We have some really good things planned for her. Look, the thing about Paige VanZant, she didn't win either fight. She came to fight. She fought her ass off both times. She did really, really well. Never took a backward step, and it's a different sport, right? Like I keep saying, and she's learning it. So for her to want to fight again in bare knuckle after taking 2 losses, you got to take your hat off to the girl. You really do, and I do, and looking forward to seeing her come back.
So you still see future for her in bare knuckle fighting?
Well, look, I mean, I can't say it after every fight, right? Like if she wins this fight, then she has a future. If she loses this fight, she's probably not going to want to fight this again either, and we'll part ways amicably. But I don't expect that to happen. I think she's learned this craft. I think she has a lot of tenacity, and I do expect her to perform even better this time.
And what about Rachel? I mean, she took out that big win. She looked good doing it. She said she enjoyed it. What's the latest on her? We haven't heard from her.
Yeah, we expect a new multi-fight deal from her signed this week, so she's coming back to bare knuckle as well. And another girl that she was fire. In her debut, looked really, really good. Promotes herself well, and she's a dream for the company. So I can't wait to have her back too. We've got a really, really stacked 125-pound division, and we're bringing more and more in every day.
Yeah, no doubt. And another MMA person I want to ask you about, Frank Muir. He told me that he had signed with BKFC, but we haven't seen him in action. What's the latest on him? Can we expect a debut from him in 2022?
I mean, we'll talk to him. He came off of really, not a really good fight, and he got rocked pretty good in that fight he fought with Triller. So we'll see what's next. It has to make sense, right? It was he's a big name, he's a legend, and I would hate to put him in here and see him get hurt. So I just want to make sure that he's up for it, his management team's up for it, and then we can make something happen.
Yeah. And I'll keep the MMA train going, but almost bare knuckle now because this guy has a lot of experience. But Melvin Guillard, I know that you guys had booked to fight him. The commission didn't allow him to fight. Was it the testing? Was it the record? What exactly did the commission tell you were the concerns there?
It was 100% the record, coming off, I think it was 11 straight losses. But what some commissions don't do, and I respect the hell out of the Far State Commission, great relationship with them, and I respect their decision. But some people just look at the losses, right? But 2 of his last 5 losses were by disqualification, where he actually knocked the opponent out. So, but I respect it, and I don't want to have a black eye for this sport or a black eye for the company. And if they don't think he's fit to fight, then he's not fit to fight, and I respect their decision.
Yeah. Is he done fighting in Florida for you guys, and he could fight in other states, or is he just overall done fighting for the promotion?
I mean, we're going to talk to our chief medical consultant, Don Musi, and see what he thinks. If he thinks he should fight, maybe we'll give him a shot. But, I don't want to jeopardize anyone's health, and I don't want to jeopardize the company either. So if he says maybe not, then it's a no. If he says absolutely give him a shot, I'll give him a shot.
And I want to ask you one last question. As we mentioned, Knuckle Mania 2 stacked from top to bottom. Give us one fight that is a must-see for the fans that they cannot miss.
I mean, Mike Perry versus Julian Lane is it's a go-to must-see fight. But I'll give you an undercover must-see fight. I think it's going to be Francisco Ricci versus Jake Bostic on the undercard. I think that's going to be a tremendous fight. Man, things are blowing up for us here, Danny. We're going to be viewed in 60 countries tomorrow night. It's unbelievable where this thing has went. We're going to be viewed by an estimated 17 million live people tomorrow night. So we're really happy about that. The fighters are happy about this. The sport's growing, the company's growing, and we just expect this to be a breakout year for us.
All right, David, we're looking forward to Saturday.